I'm Judy Shaw for NYSE Floor Talk. Joining me today is Vijay Raghavan. He is the Executive Director of the Chief Technology Officer Forum at RELX. Vijay, it is so great to see you. Thank you for joining me.
My pleasure. Thank you, Judy.
A quick note to our viewers, this interview is for informational purposes only. The NYSE doesn't recommend any investments or investment strategies. Now, Vijay, RELX has been listed on the NYSE for 26 years. You were a very different company back then and even traded under a different name. Tell us about your company's transformation and how do you serve your customers today?
Yeah, so essentially, RELX is a global provider of analytics and decision tools for professional and business customers. So we're a B2B company at heart, and we go to market under our brands Elsevier, LexisNexis Risk Solutions, LexisNexis and Read Exhibitions. And the company has undertaken a very widespread transformation from being a media company years ago to a leading global information and analytics company over the past decade. And at the heart of this transformation is innovation around our journey from digital reference tools to digital decision tools using AI technologies such as deep learning, machine learning, natural language processing. And in practice, what that means is our products help scientists make new discoveries. We help doctors and nurses improve the lives of patients. We help lawyers win cases. We help prevent fraud and money laundering. We help insurance companies evaluate and predict risk, all of which is it's a far cry from the print-based, magazine-based business that we used to be many years ago.
Now, you recently released a survey on emerging technologies and the adoption of AI amongst US businesses. What are some of the key findings from this survey?
So the RELX Emerging Technology Executive Report is an annual report. And what we just published is the third edition, which means we're able to see a 3-year trend as it relates to AI adoption. We interviewed over 1,000 senior executives across 8 industries: government, healthcare, insurance, legal, science, medical, banking, agriculture. And what the survey revealed is that executives mostly view AI technologies in a very favorable light. There's broad consensus among these executives that AI technologies will have a positive impact in the industry. Now, that's not surprising, but and there's a fairly obvious statistic. There's increased use of AI across the business landscape year over year. It's reached 81%, up 33 points since 2018. But what's more interesting is that AI investment and adoption accelerated during the COVID-19 pandemic as opposed to a slowdown or a pullback. Most executives have increased their investments in AI technologies during this time. In fact, 77% of execs believe that AI technologies play a role in slowing the spread of COVID-19 in those locations where there has been a slowdown. Now, that isn't necessarily surprising if you think about it, because there is an increase in the usage of technology overall. You and I are having this call on Zoom, and as a function of the increase in technology, there's an increase in the usage of AI as well.
Now, you mentioned the report looks at AI and ethics. Tell me more about that and how both RELX and LexisNexis Risk Solutions are looking at ethics in the context of AI.
Yeah, so one of the findings from the study is that there is an increased emphasis around ethics in AI. And for as many as 9 out of 10 executives surveyed, ethical considerations have been prioritized when it comes to the design and implementation of AI into the internal processes of their business or in terms of their products for their customers. Now, whether we call it ethics in AI or ethics in consumer scoring models, this isn't new in our businesses at RELX and at LexisNexis Risk Solutions. For example, at Risk Solutions, our main mission is to help our customers calculate the risk of doing business with their customers, who could be consumers, while at the same time ensuring that our products provide societal benefits. And what that means is we have to abide by regulations such as FCRA, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, or GLBA, the DPPA, which is the Driver Privacy Protection Act, just to name a few. And that's all about ethics and fairness. So well before AI became a buzzword, we'd already been paying attention to, or we'd already implemented governance around our tools and processes to ensure that our scoring models and other products are inherently fair to consumers. So ethics in AI is not a new concept per se, but what's significant in the study is that even across industries that are less regulated, executives are paying attention to ethics in AI.
What implications does the findings have on the future of the workforce?
So there's a common thread in the responses. Across most of the industries, AI technologies are likely to be used for increasing efficiencies and worker productivity rather than to replace human labor. And that's significant because it goes against the commonly held view that AI displaces labor by default. Of course, the nature of the hires that many of these companies are making is changing to some extent. For example, 70% of the healthcare and 64% of science and medical executives have increased data scientists or other technologist headcount to support the use of AI technologies. So that is significant, but at the same time, AI is being used very wisely, and the nature of the hires, so it's being used to augment decision-making, as I said, and that is going to have a positive impact in the future of work. So easily 66% of the executives in healthcare say they are using it to enhance, for example, the effectiveness of doctors and physicians as opposed to trying to replace them or anything like that.
Okay, and finally, Vijay, looking forward to the future and beyond the pandemic, how do you see RELX and LexisNexis risk solutions solving or evolving, I should say?
Our focus continues to be growth via the organic development of digital platforms and new products, supplemented by a few strategic acquisitions, and that part of our strategy won't change. We were leaders in moving from analog to digital, and we continue to prioritize innovation today, specifically by increasingly moving towards analytics-based products and services. So it's about continuous innovation in our core sectors, and we have tremendous opportunity for growth in each of them. And at the same time, innovation in our adjacent markets by launching new products. So, for example, in the insurance space, we're striking partnerships with automotive OEMs so we can avail of data from advanced driver assistance systems, ADAS systems, which will enable us to offer analytics products not just to insurance companies, but also to OEMs. And similarly, in our business services space, because of the nature of the business that's moving more and more online, our fraud and anomaly detection products are a big source of growth for us.
Well, Vijay, it's been wonderful to talk with you, and thank you for joining me on NYSE Floor Talk.
Thank you. My pleasure again, Judy. My pleasure to join you.